All right, hello, good evening. Good evening. We are coming to you from in front of City Hall. This is after week 10 of the City Market protest of the City Market season. And again, we are calling, the message is still the same, really, of boycott of City Market. And before we get into the thing, really, share this live if you haven't already. Share this live, and we've had some stand issues. The stand is broken, so let me know how the audio sound. Okay. We should be good, though. We should be good. So again, this is week 10 of the City Market season, and this is week 10 of the City Market protest. And I feel like we should talk about this. We initially came out there. I shouldn't say wait. There was initially a City Market protest last year, and I don't even know if you would call it a City Market protest. I think people originally went to City Market to talk about the police terrorism that took place on May 30th of last year. And as a response to that, City Market kicked people out of city markets and security guards to put their hands on people addressing these issues. And then what would come from that was the weaponization of the police. Was for, at times, 70 police officers. I'd say probably on average somewhere between 40 to 50 police officers every week of last year. And then what came from that was unlawful and unjust arrest. 33 people was arrested last year during the City Market season. And this is after cause of the first arrests were done by an off-duty cop and his family member. An off-duty cop and his family member got a brutalized black woman on this day. And City Market had more police officers the next week. So that is a reason, and that is a justification behind the City Market protest. The fact that City Market has become a microcosm of what it means to be in a Rockford, what it means to live in Rockford, to where there was times last year at City Market where they denied you entry based off the color of your skin, or based off if you ever participated in a protest, if they recognize your face at all. So it was racial injustice, racial discrimination all last year. People were denied entry just based solely off the color of their skin. And then again, it was police terrorism. A countless amount of people were brutalized at the hands of the Rockford Police Department, were falsely arrested, were terrorized. It was young children that were pepper sprayed directly in their face. It was a young black child who was yanked off her bike just trying to go home. So, again, it's a microcosm of what it means to be in Rockford. It's police terrorism there. It's mass racial injustice there. It's people being falsely sent to jail, being charged with felonies, feeding into the system. Hopefully, feeding into the system. My fault. They are trying to feed into the system of mass incarceration. So all that being said, I feel like with that being said, now we can look at City Market as this is a racist run event. This is an event run by white supremacists. This is an event run by people who have weaponized the police, continuously weaponized the police. So by going down there and spending your money there, it's forgetting what happened last year. It's forgetting that a 12-year-old girl was pepper sprayed. By going out there and pretending to have a good time, it's forgetting that black women were brutalized by 250-pound men. It's forgetting these things. It's forgetting the brutal and harsh nature of some of these arrests. I'll throw those to you. Go ahead. Just go ahead.
No, yeah, I think one of the ways that we know what you're saying is true is that I think that Rockford City Market is engaging in what has been called negative peace, or like a facade of peace, or a facade of like everything is okay. All the races are coming together. We're all enjoying ourselves. What are the protesters? What are they talking about? Everyone's having a good time. We're seeing it's this is the most multiracial city market that I think I've seen. I mean, I wasn't from last year, most definitely. I don't know if you would agree. Of course, it was COVID or whatever, I guess, so we couldn't scientifically, or we probably could, but it would be a little harder. But it's one of the most racially diverse. But the reason why I say it's still negative peace is because positive peace is only when the problems or the issues have been solved. And that's what we're down there for. We want everyone. We would love to be in an environment where everybody just kicking it. Ain't no racism at all. It's really true. It is no tokenism. It's no none of that classism. There's no exploitation going on. There's no people putting. We would love to, I speak for myself. I would love, to do that. But I understand that that's glossing over the fact that there has been no justice for the young lady that has been pepper sprayed. There has been not even a question of justice unless we've raised it. I mean, it hasn't even been addressed. And there's proof of these things. There's videos. And that's just one abuse that happened last year, at City Market. So, yeah, I think, and people, I don't know how people, and it's been talked about by people before, how people don't know, I don't know if that's the right word, know that protesting is meant to disrupt that negative peace. Because they look at us like, why are you protesting and being disruptive? It's like those two things. Like that is the purpose, and to inform or to draw attention, bring attention, awareness to something. But specifically in our case, in this case, is to interrupt that negative peace so we can get to the business of trying to achieve true and positive peace.
I think one thing that has happened this year, I think maybe just because the nature of the protest hasn't changed, the nature of the layout has changed, is to where more people stop and look, and you can see it's like an inquisitive look on their face where they're really listening to the words that are being said and looking at the photos of the people who have been terrorized by the police. And so that has been a new aspect of the protest this season, where I feel like last year it was the only people that was there was people to. It's some folks' best memory, their favorite memory of last year, going to City Market and antagonizing the protest. Yeah, or clapping, they cheering. They had a great night. Growing up, you do this thing at during family dinner, where you say, "What's your favorite part of the day? What's your best part of the day? And what's your worst part of the day?" I bet you it's white families that said, "My favorite part was when people got arrested. My favorite part was when a police slammed a black woman to the ground. Was my favorite part."
Black Lives Matter got what they deserve.
Is some of them who their favorite part, they itching to assault people again. It's multiple people who attended City Market who assaulted people. And this year it has been a little bit more of that look of trying to understand, trying to fully understand what is really going on. Because City Market I want to make this clear, City Market hasn't done anything to help that. In fact, the only thing City Market has done is trying to keep that from being the case. City Market is trying to make sure that everybody don't know Denzel Duvant's name. When you can get arrested for writing "Justice for Denzel Duvant," that's my fault. That idea is just still insane to me. Arrested for writing in chalk. Multiple people arrested for writing in chalk. So again, I would say that it's just been different people have been coming in, and it has been almost more of a little bit educational thing. I seen. uh, I said this one thing on the megaphone. I think I had the photo of Denzel. This was, I think, maybe 2 weeks ago, and I was saying, if you don't have any empathy for if you have any empathy for this young man, do not spend a dime here. If you have any empathy for this young man, do not give them any of your business. And there was one young lady, and I could tell it was bothering her. Until it got to her, so she took one more look at Denzel, and then she sort of like sighed and just walked away. She left. She left. She left. So, just based off the crowd, it has been, and of course, there still are some racist folks who have been there to antagonize and have been there to say what they say, but overall, and this is why I think I would call this a success, because I say the people who have been there, who have been trying to listen, it's been young people, it's been the youth, and that's maybe the most important thing. When you have police chiefs who talk about we're not worried about them, we're not focused on them, we're forgetting them, and to where there needs to be an emphasis, there needs to be a focus on the youth and making sure they're learning the true and proper history, not whitewash history that is taught in these schools.
Yeah, that's one of the things. One of the things that sticks out in my mind too is the response of the youth from 7, 6, all the way up to teenagers. Like today, already, the group of teenagers came up, a group of 6, and one of them said, "Hey, Jose Gonzalez, that's my cousin." You know, he had a whole group with him, and he, you know, in their response from far away, you know, I think he recognized the picture of his cousin, but just the reactions on him and his friend's face were positive, or they were like, "Yeah, I heard one of them say, yeah, that's what's up." You know, it's like, because I'm not going to say the whole of a group of people, a demographic, or an older generation or whatever, that that are really keeping the young people from being able to know the whole truth, or being able to express the disdain that they have for the current affairs, the current system. They know how they're treated. They know how they're treated by the police. They know how they're treated by some of these business owners around here. They know how they're some of them. I see some of the young people come, especially the group of youth that's not with parents or whatever. They're just coming down there normally. They look like, hold on, we're not being harassed. Like they faking. Like, if we would have came down here just on a normal day, they would have been harassing us. But now, you know, you can see that they don't know how to respond. Like, oh, we can just go through here and not be harassed and not be called names or different things like that. But they know. And, you know, some of the young people look at you like, you can see in their face that they know that what you're doing is the right thing. You know, and what you're saying is something important that they're not being told. And then, of course, you get the ones where the parents or the guardians try to cover the ear, cover the eyes. And, you know, one boy, his mom had him turn away one time, but every time I looked up, he had turned back. It was like he was glued. So, and of course, you could call it a spectacle and say, well, anyone that was up there saying those things would have drawn that attention from a child, but I think there's a little more there. So that's definitely one of the takeaways, you know, and that's one of the messages too, that you're not going to be able to lie to the younger people forever, or to people in general. And I feel like a lot of people don't have a real understanding of the issues around the protests around City Market, the Occupy at City Hall. They or even why people in Rockford reacted the way they did on May 30th. You know, why George Floyd, and how a lot of people saw George Floyd in a lot of situations that had happened in Rockford. You know, people tried to argue and explain away that, like, no, they didn't really know, those were outsiders. They didn't really know. They didn't really equate that to Demetrius Bennett, Michael Sago Jr., And I know a lot of young people that never recovered from the police terrorism that took the life of Mikey Sago Jr. And I said it before, I'll never forget the look that I saw in these young people's face. They were looking at us, the older people, like you all are just going to sit back and let them get away with what they did. And so yeah, that's encouraging.
I will say that, there has been times where, since I'm younger, I'm 21. My fault, I turned the wrong way. I'm 21. That going back and reading things from when I was 15 and 16, I have to think like, reading some of those articles, I think like, man, why did you say that? The way I had one type of rally, and they said they had one type of rally, and it was addressing somebody had died, police had murdered somebody, and there was some type of rally, but it was a national rally. My fault. The person had died nationally. It wasn't a local thing. It wasn't local based. And the person said, I think it's important to raise this issue, even if it doesn't happen in Rockford, even if Rockford isn't a hot spot for these type of things. And that's really, I think what we've seen is people in power want to turn back the clock into where don't nobody know about Mark Barmore, don't nobody know about Mike Sago, don't nobody know about Gino Washington, don't nobody know about Denzel Duvant. And I say one of the main reasons for the protest continuing in front of City Hall and at City Market is to make sure that as much as Denzel Duvant's face is ingrained in his family members, I want that to be ingrained in everybody's face. To know that this, and again, Denzel Duvant, that's not, it is probably the most brutal mugshot I've seen. That things that happen like that, to where police pull you over because they said you look like you have a warrant, or police stop you and harass you, or a police officer tases you. That's not. That's a part of it every day. That's everyday life as a Rockford Police Department officer. That's not abnormal. Rockford is a hot spot. Is filled with police terrorism that happen on a regular basis. That, again, is why I think City Market officials have been so against the protest, because it's people like Kathy McDermott and Peter Provenzano, and again, it's people like Todd Cagnoni and Tom McNamara, who are politicians who don't want you to know about what's happening in the fairgrounds at midnight. They don't want you to know what's happening, what the police are doing at Blackhawk at midnight. They don't want you to know about what the Metros did for years at Concords. So, really, I would say one of the main reasons for being at City Hall, one of the main reasons for the protest continuing at City Market, is to make sure that these issues are highlighted and that people are aware and people know that they're not ever going away. They're not. There's nothing that can be done. There's nothing. It don't matter what happened from here. The memorials are permanent. This is why every time they tear down the memorials, our fucking racist ass Clyde tear down the memorials, this is why they go right back up. In this attempt to highlight these issues and to make sure that we as a community are fully aware of what is happening. I need another water.
Yeah, and I'm wondering how, like I said, seeing the difference in the demographic of people that are at City Market this year, I'm wondering how was that accomplished? What was the marketing campaign that they used to get so many different kinds of people that were not a part of City Market? City Market was not like this last year. It wasn't like this the first year. I was a volunteer with a youth group the first year of City Market. The demographic of people was totally different. And I'm just wondering, like, how did they I don't know if they had a lot of commercials. I don't know if how the marketing plan seems to have worked. Maybe, because we looked at this. Sometimes you get discouraged. You're like, man, why are all of these good meaning people, or why are all of these minorities or these people that should be aware of the brutality and abuses that happened at City Market last year? But then what we see is that it's more people that are going to learn about these issues now. It's a lot of people that are hear about these issues that would not have probably heard about it, and so that's been maybe a something that's backfired with the Rockford City Market, trying to use tokenism, trying to use negative peace, or putting lipstick on a pig, or disguising racism with black participation. It seems that like I see the reaction of some minorities, and I notice like even when I see when Mexicans respond to hearing about Jose Gonzalez, it's like Black Lives Matter is they're talking about more than just because people sometimes information is not circulated the way it should, or false narratives on TV about what certain things are, and they were like, oh, they're talking about Jose Gonzalez too, and you see the attention, the fact basically more people are being informed down there about the issues. The people that come near where we are, I wonder with the different ways to exit and enter, what percentage of people that are able to hear us or see, or are able to know that City Market is even being protested.
That's a good question. I think, I don't know. That is a good. I have thought of the same thing. I think the amount of people that is a flow. People flow throughout the event, so I think it's not where we're sitting at one spot and it's the same crowd the entire time. It's a good amount of flow. But
so everyone inside of there probably circulates.
Yeah, I would say I would think so. And this part, this part almost sick to me. This part disturbing to me. That the fact that they got the park district out there this year to have kids right there in the spot they had set up today. The same spot that they had set up right where they was. Children was pepper sprayed last year. The same spot right where they were. It was children that was pepper sprayed. There's not a spot that you can go inside City Market that doesn't have some type of past negative interaction with the police. If you in the crosswalk, numerous people were arrested in the crosswalk. If you on the tracks, people was arrested on the railroad tracks. Even this intersection up here, right? It was this intersection where Dana got hit with the car, right? Dana got hit with the car door. So this whole area has been tainted. This whole area is stained. This whole area is somebody's blood been in this whole area at the hands of the police. That bridge, the reason they closed that bridge down was because a 250-pound white man slammed a black woman on the ground to where she was unconscious. So my fault. When we're looking at City Market, it's important to not get wrapped up or to allow ourselves to get misled, because that's what City Market wants to have happen. The City Market is trying to mislead you. City Market is trying to steer you away from these issues. So it's important that when we look at City Market, we're not just listening to the press conferences they have. We're not just looking at them talking about the 60% minority-owned and black-owned and woman-owned businesses. Again, we have to look at it from a broad sense. We have to take that step back and look at the bigger picture of it. And again, when you look at the bigger picture of it, you look at Kathy McDermott, you look at Peter Provenzano and Todd Cagnoni and Tom McNamara, and each one of them has played a hand in the weaponization of the police. Each one of them. Okay, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. You have a problem with this young man getting beat up? Okay. This young man got beat up in the Rockford Police Department early January. You you love the police?
Absolutely.
You love the
I
police.
don't want anybody to get beat up. No.
Okay.
But you know, I mean, like, and
I think this conversation ended there. Have a good night. Have a good night, ma'am. Have a good night, ma'am. Have a good night.
We need some sort of.
Do you think Denzel needed the police on that day?
I mean, if you look at that organization,
Okay. I'm my fault. I'm sorry I even asked this question. I'm sorry I even asked this question. Have a good night. Both of y'all have a good night. Both of y'all.
for a conversation, then you're not open, honey.
I'm not trying to have no conversation with you.
You know what I mean? You got to be open to.
I'm not open to that type of opinions.
No, that's a shame.
Well, when you come out here,
I want to hear what you have to say.
Certain situations are too serious for opinions.
But
That's
you-
like saying, was Hitler a nice guy?
No.
That's what she just said.
No.
Historically is a fact. What she just said, the police originated from slave catchers.
most
That's what the
police
police No, I know that for a fact. That's a fact. You can research it and
So
Google
do you
it.
believe
So if
in
you don't
sharing
know
police?
that, that means that you don't know
Yes.
critical race theory. You don't know the history of race relations in America, so we can't have a conversation until you maybe go read more and study, then come back
do you know
and
what
say
I
something.
honestly
So that's
think
why we need to do this because
about
you
critical
blocking
race
it.
guys doing?
theory, do you
We
wanna
know not what you think. What do you
So
know?
Mercedes-
We don't care what you think. What do you know?
do
That's
you-
a fact.
do you want
who
your-
who was
do you
the
want
origin?
your
Who is the
race
originator?
to be strong? Yay
Who
or
is?
nay?
No, I don't deal with race.
Do you
Race
want
is a
your
false
race
concept.
to be strong?
Race is a false concept.
Do
I
you
don't
want
have
your
no
race
race.
to be strong?
You're running a race. That's what racism is. I'm not in no
Because
race.
if you do, there's a couple things you could do.
But we doing a lot because you
Number
just
one,
said you
fathers-
just said you was a racist because you
Number
said
one,
what
fathers
makes your
to
race
stay
strange.
home with their kids.
No, fathers
And
were.
stay
Hold on.
married.
Okay.
Fathers
Now you
were
In the
snatched
family.
during slavery.
Number two,
Your ancestors.
Stop trying to look
your
at me. I ain't
ancestors.
Guys,
stop
wait,
trying to-
your
stop trying to look at
ancestors.
me. I ain't-
Your
Guys, keep
ancestors
their
are the
pants
original
on.
baby daddies.
Keep
Your
your pants
ancestors
on.
raped women in slavery
Keep your
and
pants on.
and began. No, we don't.
Okay,
if
now
we
you just a racist. Okay.
go because we know you don't know what you're
racism.
talking
No,
about.
You just feeding
Go.
down into
You don't
more-
know what
yeah.
racism is.
You just feeding more into
You couldn't define a
racist lines.
racism if they
If
gave you
you-
30
You just
years.
spewing out racist lines you hear
Go
on the,
ahead. You
the
couldn't
news.
define-
Okay, I'm not having
You
no type
couldn't
of
define
conversation no
racism
more
if
with
they
you.
gave you 30 years.
So who's open and who's not? If you pick up any social.
I'm not trying to be open
No,
with
no,
you.
no.
Now you
This
know
is-
you lying
this is
now.
not-
No sociologist in America would grade your paper if you started off with that. They would throw it. They would give you an F right off jump.
So there doesn't have to be emotion.
We can Google
here.
sociology and we can prove that you don't know what you're talking about.
There doesn't have
Just
to be
walk down the
emotion
street.
here. We can
There's-
actually
there doesn't
talk
have to be
Because
emotion?
You are grown.
Person to
You are a
person.
grown woman, and you
You
don't
think
know
that
the
man don't
basics
have to have no
about
emotion?
some of the
That's
most
one
You think his
important
family don't have
issues
no
that's facing
emotion?
humanity.
You think-
You're too
what about that
old
person?
not to know the
No, what about
basics.
that person?
That's like not knowing one.
What about
plus
Faustin
one.
Gratigo? That's a
Too
different
old not
person.
to know the basis
What about Jose Gonzalez Jr.?
So
the
you're
most
not. You're
important-
not.
What about-
opening 'cause you talk over people.
No, we're telling you to go.
You
We
talk
t-
over people.
Ma'am, just have a good night.
So if people
But
don't
you're
agree
acting.
with you,
You're
you
acting
talk over them.
disrespectful. I'm talking, but
You
you're
talk over.
acting.
Man, have a good night.
You're
Have a good night.
engaged in
Go,
an
just go about your day. Have a good night.
We're online.
Yeah.
We honestly want the
But
best
first you
for
gotta
every-
to learn.
The
We
police
want
ain't the
best.
best.
You have
But
to learn. That's
you
like
guys
a
actually
surgeon.
have
That's
to
like having.
understand that.
That's like having a surgeon that doesn't know
What's
the
best?
basics of surgery.
You want what's
saying
best
that
for
they want
you,
the
not
best
what's best
you
for
in surgery.
everybody.
So we're
That's the
telling you to
difference.
go
That's not
prepare
true.
That's the
to
difference.
have
Is
the-
you worried about what's best for you and what's best for people that look like you, and not what's best for everybody. And not, okay, so I'm gonna let you go. I'm gonna end on that.
Hands up and you still-
I'm gonna end on
Right,
that.
I say that. I say
Right,
keep your pants
because you
on.
don't know history. That's why you say that.
Because I say that because, in
You
all
say
honesty,
that.
if
You
you
know,
look
you
at,
said father.
if you look at any
Who
social-
created fatherlessness in the
That's
the
the
community?
problem. If you look
No,
at
who created
any
it? What's the root of it?
sociology-
Sociology deals
Why-
with root causes.
Why
What's the root
do
cause?
black
What's the root
men
cause?
Not be
What's,
fathers
what's the root
in your
cause? You
society?
don't know.
Do you
What's
know
the
if that's
root cause?
statistically true?
What's the root cause?
That's
Why?
not-
We
that's not
asking you.
racist.
Do you
I
know if that's
why, but you
statistically
don't.
true though?
Fact.
Do you
It's a fact.
Why?
you know that's true? Where'd you get
Why
that
don't
fact
stay
from?
with your
I already
women?
know.
Why don't you stay with your women?
Because
Why
it's-
don't you stay with your children?
Do you think
I don't have
is that a
women.
fact?
Because
Where'd you get that fact from, though? Where'd you get that fact from? Because I don't believe that's statistically
You
true.
need to be a man, and you need to stay with your family and your women. You need to stay with your family and your women.
Well, then,
That's the only way it's going to happen.
well, then, no. The only way it's going to happen is to eliminate racism. Racism caused the
No,
split
it's
of black.
gotta do
No,
with-
this is a fact.
So you don't want to eliminate racism?
Fatherlessness ended in the black community during slavery. That's when it began. There was never a black family unit after slavery. It's very rare.
All I
and
know-
even within that, but
And-
you didn't know that, but you want to have a conversation.
Listen,
That's why we asked you to go. We don't want no Fox
no,
News.
see,
You
if
sound like
could
Fox
let
News.
me talk for 1 minute.
No, because we asked you.
Okay, you been talking. You spewed out your racial.
Because you disrespect
Yeah.
him as a man. You talking about people standing together.
We
Yes, you did.
love
You asked her to
we
leave.
love you.
No,
we
she
love
disrespected
you.
Okay, now you being
I
okay.
want good for you. I want good for you. I do.
Really?
I honestly do. Why would I not want good for you? I mean,
You
no,
want-
honestly, if you
I really,
if
truly
you are a
believe
Christian,
that.
if you are a Christian, you want good. You want
No,
good.
if you are a Christian, you
If you
know
want
you have
Christian-
knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. You don't have knowledge about the things you're talking about, and you claiming to be
I
a
do have
Christian.
knowledge.
That's not Christian. You read the book of Proverbs. What does the book of Proverbs tell you?
It's
Think
a-
before
it's a
you speak.
lot of
Study
stuff.
to
It's a
show
lot of
yourself
stuff.
approved. You haven't studied this. You improved it. Study to show yourself approved. That's what the Bible says.
You know what, you guys?
Why do the people,
Rise
why do
to higher.
Europeans
Rise to
that
higher.
claim to be Christians
You're meant to be a. You're
claim
meant to
that
be
th're
a
Christians,
good
but they don't
man.
have basic
You're
knowledge
meant to be
about
a
Christianity?
father. You're meant to stay with your
Don't
kids.
touch people like that. Don't do that.
You're meant
Don't
to
do
stay
that.
with your
See,
kids.
that comes from racism and slavery. That
Why?
a white woman can touch me.
I don't think
If
that
I
there's
touch
anything
you-
wrong. I don't think you have a disease.
That's an act.
I know you
that's an
don't.
act
I
of
know you don't
affection.
think I got a disease, but the thing.
That's the act of affection.
Affection, right?
Yeah.
Camaraderie.
But you, on the other hand,
What? We have 7 kids,
that's good.
and we have a good.
Go be with him. Go be with him. Go be with that. We gonna end
If
up.
you
Go
guys
be with
are-
him.
See, you're not open.
Go ahead, because
you're
you
not
don't-
open. Because
I'm not open to racists.
You're not open to listen.
I'm not open to people who come out here and they trying to explain things to
I'm
us.
just saying you will never go forward unless you become stronger as a family.
I study Marcus Garvey,
You need to have
Dr.
a family,
King.
strong
These
family
are the
unit.
people that told us about ways to go forward. Harriet Tubman, you
I'm
you
not
know more
against
than them.
you. I'm
Do
not
you know
against
more than
you.
our great African freedom fighters that struggled
I'm
to
not
get us to the
against
point? They don't
Have a
say
good
what
night.
you say.
Have a good night.
You
If
two
you're
got
not
left.
against
Just go
us,
about your day.
go study more so you don't make the statements that you made.
Okay, well,
Go study.
obviously-
Go do your
Read
Googles. Do your
the
research.
right-
read some
the
books.
right book.
When you sit there and you don't listen and you don't have a
Okay.
conversation,
Have a
you
good
can't
night.
learn anything.
We're not even gonna pay you no attention no more. We're not even gonna pay you no attention no more. We're not even gonna pay. My fault. I let that get off track. My fault. And again, really, when you think about it, it's those the same people that come up here and say those type of things. They really get the most enjoyment out of the city market. The same people who spew those racial infused statements like that, and who talk like that and do those type of things. It's the same type of people who get a kick out of city market and who love the city market and go to city market. Trying to make sure they don't messing on the stuff.
No, I wanted to see what business she was going into next. So you like,
Boy.
because some of the things that she just said, you find on it. You know, you can Google. They're a little harder to get to than they were. You know, but if you Google Ku Klux Klan website, you will see what the stuff that she was saying on the website, like almost verbatim. The things that she was saying are on the website, you know, for the Ku Klux Klan. And she, like you, she just left City Market. You know, she's happy. She enjoyed herself. You know, and so and like you said, that's what we have to understand, that that these people are coming down there because of the facade that black people are okay with the situation. Black people believe they're the problem. Black people believe that all they got to do is keep their pants on, as she said. Or black people, all black people got to do is have fathers at home and the problems that negatively affect them in America is over. That's the opposite of critical race theory. Actually, understanding the how black people are looked at negatively disproportionately by the mass majority of people in society. Even other ethnic groups, even black people have a disproportionate amount of negative views about their own self, their own heritage, their own, and when she said, "Oh, I don't think you have a disease," I'm thinking, like, if you knew what I knew about the heritage that I come from, you would know good and well that I'm not worried about you thinking I got a disease. I know where COVID came from, but that's a different topic. We ain't gonna get into that. But COVID didn't come from Africans. COVID was Europeans brought COVID to America, but black people are dying from it. But we didn't have nothing to do with it. According to, they was saying that China, European, why is black people dying the most from it? And she would say because we won't keep our pants up, or we had more AIDS because we are sex maniacs. Those are the type of stereotypes based totally on false information that people are allowed to walk around and feel free, and they don't want to be taught out of this. Some people.
And some of those things, they are rooted in slavery. They are rooted in just that thought of right there, where you said the sex craved, craved, what'd you say? My fault. I forgot to. Yeah. Where it's things like that, where it was slave owners' justification for slavery. Different
Birth of a Nation. That, she just wrote a new script for Birth of the Nation 2021. Birth of a Nation 2021. She just wrote the script.
And what's the first thing she said is, I love the police.
Yeah, that was the first.
The first thing she said, I love the police.
And you were right. Man, Ari, only if we're not going to have this conversation. And we should have left it at that, because she was successful in her tactic. Because I would prefer not to even engage with her like that. Knowing she just proved, and she was probably drunk on top of it, so.
Yeah, we were talking about this a little bit before we started the live. It's some conversations where they're pointless at this point. Where there's some things that you either on this side or you on this side. There's no moderate. There's no room for debate. There's no time to be in the middle. Play both sides. It's no, you here or you here. So, and I think that some of these issues where some of these issues we're talking about is, I'm not trying to have no debates. I'm not trying to debate Kurt Whisenhan or family members of Kurt Whisenhan or nothing like that. No, you either here or you here. It's not no time to play the middle. It's not no time. I think that this is said often, that by playing the middle and by continuously not choosing a side and just being moderate, is you doing more harm. You're doing more harm, because as you are witness to some of the actions that are taking place and witness to some of the things that are being done, but you're not doing anything about it, that's crime in and of itself. That's harmful in and of itself, to where, and also that's a luxury. That's a luxury to not to play the middle. That's a luxury to be on the fence. That's a luxury to be able to do that. Because Denzel Devon couldn't do that. Jose Gonzalez Jr. couldn't do that. Faustin Guaitigo couldn't do that. The family of Mark Balmer, they couldn't do that. It's not no time to play the middle. It's not no time to be in the fence. Too much things to happen. But I was, you was talking about one thing earlier we was talking about Mexicans. He was saying
Some, they were informed. I mean, some, I saw certain people that seemed to appreciate that they were informed about some of the situations that was happening in their community that they may not have been aware of.
and I talk about this after last week. I went down the chalk in front of CJ's after 10 p.m. after the permit was over with, and I'm writing down. I was starting to write Jose Gonzalez Jr. deserved justice. That's what I was starting to write, and I had already written like "fuck the police" or something like that. And a Mexican man, he's so clearly drunk. He walk over and he throw his full beer. And he throw it on the chalk. And he must have thought I spoke Spanish as well because he said something in Spanish. So then his friend came up and he said something in Spanish as well. And I informed him that I didn't know. I can't speak Spanish. I don't understand what you were saying. And he was saying the same type of things that these racist white folks are saying. Just go home. Just go home. You don't need to be here. You don't need to... write these things. You don't need to do this. Just go home. Just go home. So then my rebuttal is, okay, you want me to go home? What are you doing for Jose Gonzalez Jr.? What are you doing for Mikey Guzman? Then his response is, what happened to them? I thought this was Black Lives Matter. I thought this was Black Lives Matter. So there is... I say that to say there is some type of there is racism in other ethnicities to where there are a portion of Mexicans that are racist towards black people. There are a portion and that go for everything. I think Asians the same way and different type of things to where. I want to talk about this more in a podcast form to where I feel like this really just hurt. That is some people's biggest ambitions, some ethnicities' biggest ambitions, just to be white or to be accepted by white people, and that's their biggest life goal is just to be in a circle of white people, and to where we. That's not what success is. That's not what. And truly, you can never really be white because white is a construct. White is what you said talking about. I wanted to talk about more about that, the construct.
Yeah, like you said, and I think I told you before about an experience where I was doing like some data entry for reporting on the number of youth that participated in certain activities I was working in a non-for-profit. And they had on there, I think it said Hispanic/Mexican. The child was black, African-American, Native American, white. I don't think they put Europe, no hyphen. It just said white for white. White was the only one that had just a single word, white. So I clicked. So if the child was Mexican or Hispanic, I clicked, the X. But then I couldn't get off the screen. One particular time I hit the X for Hispanic and Mexican. And I couldn't get off the screen and I couldn't figure out. So lower down it said you had to distinguish between white and black, Hispanic, Mexican. And so I was thinking like, dang, how do you prove this? What is the metrics to prove? Like, so if a Hispanic person, like you said, that understands and I say this with empathy and want to show empathy towards people more, I said that before, but knowing that in a white supremacist society, the closer you are to white, we're taught or programmed or led to believe, in some cases it's true, the closer you are to white, the more success you're going to have in society. And like you said, so if your only ambition is to navigate or achieve in this society, which we know as racist or whatever, then and black people have to deal with that too in terms of the things that bring you closer to white, and how the closer you are, you know, like I had a friend that did the Peace Corps in Jamaica. She went to the Peace when she was in the Peace Corps in Jamaica. When she arrived at the Peace Corps office, black women of Jamaica was waiting in the office for the white Peace Corps men so they could have a pretty baby. This is what they said to her, so that they could have a pretty baby. And what they really mean too is a baby that has a better chance of being successful in society based on being closer to, you know, like you said, white. And then in terms of the white construct, white gives Europeans a unifying factor, you know, in America, that you know, instead of having to be categorized as German, Italian, Irish. I think somebody dealt with this too in the live. But if you just check white, when you count out the number of white people, then that's when they become a majority in terms of data. You know, they're a majority over Chinese, or they're a majority over, you know, because of that. And then so it becomes a power. It's about power. It's about pretending that you're a majority when you're actually a minority, and things like that. So, and that's why I think someone has said, when you say you white, you're either consciously or unconsciously saying you're racist, you know, because no one is, well, if you don't know, have the information, but you don't have to continue to say you white, you know. You may use it, like I don't particularly prefer the term black, you know, but I know that's the only way I can communicate with people in certain situations, like, you know, without sounding like I'm being a stickler for terminology. So it's like, okay, yeah, black or whatever, but that doesn't, you know, and so that's why when you say white, you're letting go of your European heritage to gain the material benefits of whiteness in America. Is a made up construct.
And going off that, I talk about this book a lot, and I've thought about reading it, doing a part of the Rockford reading, but I don't know. A People's History of the United States, written by Howard Zinn. Rest in peace, Howard Zinn. Yeah, right now I'm in the part where we're talking about the chapter is called "The Other Civil War," and it's talking about Irish immigrants and how Irish immigrants were treated in the factories, and how they were forced. That's not the word I'm trying to use. And they were deduced to work in these factory jobs, and the conditions were terrible in the factory jobs, and people regularly die in the factory, and it just be part of the everyday life, to where we got to a point now where it's some people who could say that they're not white, they Irish, but again they don't know. Again, that's part of the thing, that they don't know that some of these things, they don't know and this go back to the schooling thing, this go back to the education and the proper history thing, to where history has been whitewashed. History has been told in a way to where it's things that I'm reading in this book that I have never learned, that have never been taught, or that had just been mentioned in one section of one book in my entire schooling. So I do think that some of these things start with education. Some things start with, and again, that go back to the youth, and that go back to one of the good things that have happened this year is the youth that have come out and who have listened, who have even if it's learned a little bit more in bits and pieces, and to know that to come back for more, or to read a pamphlet, or to pick up a business card. And that's really been one of the most, I'd say that's a silver lining in the protest, in the city market season. I'm gonna toss this to you, bro.
Okay, yeah. I was thinking of something that the lady revealed that she had said that she revealed. That reminded me. What did she say? What was one of the most racist things that she said? Or then it was
Why don't you stay home with your kids?
some about fathers. And she said something that made me feel like, although I'm upset that I engaged with her for that long, it's like she was letting out things, that was, that was indicative of the situation down here, and I forgot what it was, but yeah. I'm gonna pass it back to you, but as I think and try to remember what it was, somebody can leave in the comments maybe what was the most racist or the most crazy thing that she said, so that I can it might jar my memory.
One of the things she had said is, and I tried to say this during when we at City Market, is she had said that we need the police. So then in turn I had asked her, do you think Denzel needed the police on that day? And she go, oh, that's one person. That's just one situation. So then again, it's okay, what about Faustin Guertico? What about Jose Gonzalez Jr.? What about each name and face on these light poles? Because I promise you, if you have a problem, if you take an issue with Jose Gonzalez Jr., or if you have an issue with Denzel, or if you have an issue with Faustin, or if you can somehow justify it in your mind, I promise you, it's 50 more. I promise you, it's a whole cases upon cases upon cases of police terrorism in this city. I promise you, you're going to find one that relates to you. I promise you. Whether that's you a 53-year-old white woman and you like the police, like Suzette Babler, they murdered her. Or you a 16-year-old getting murdered, like Mikey Sago. Or you just walking home. Or if you just walking home and you get ran over like Mikey Guzman. I promise you, if you take an issue with any one of these, or if you have a problem with any one of these, I promise you it's 50 more. I promise you, somebody you know probably been harassed by the police department. I promise you, somebody you know has dealt with some type of excessive force or some type of harassment at the hands of the police department.
I think I remember now. So it was just generally thinking like, what is the city of Rockford going to do about people like that? Like in terms of educating them, because they did a survey, or they surveyed, some kind of way they came out with the most racist states in America. I forget which year it was. I think it was the year right after Barack Obama first got elected to president, because one of the things they looked at was the racist remarks left the night of the election. And they found that the state of Michigan had the most racist remarks or something like that. And so when you see all those remarks, like the stuff that she said, what in your marketing plan about Rockford can cover the stuff that she said, that you have citizens walking around saying stuff from Birth of a Nation that's telling the solution to these problems? She said the solution to this was keep your pants up. So and that's, generally speaking, like you said, in other many instances you encounter, it's not just one person like that. It's a lot of people who say some things that would help Rockford be ranked amongst the most racist. Forbes and all these people, they look at the comments on the posts of the newspapers and the televisions. So I don't know if the people, some of the racists here, they're purposely trying to increase Rockford's ranking by some of the stuff that they say, but that was a perfect example. Like that, what the stuff that she said at least 4 things that could be grouped in some of the most ignorant and racist comments, said in 2021. And that happened in Rockford on camera.
Yep. My boy.
Okay. I didn't know where that was going to go. All right. I think we good. We good? You good? Okay, this has been City Market Week 10. Boycott City Market.